Film God Familia. Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Film Gods podcast. I'm your host, Isusko, aka the Time Scheduler. Welcome to you first time listeners. And welcome back, all of you wonderfully global Film God family. So we've got industry news, industry catch up. Haven't figured out the title yet, but we'll figure it out. Type episode where we did one a few episodes back where we spoke about the industry, and there was an article written by Charlie Mayrick, and someone sent me an article that kind of then ties in nicely with that, because in there they spoke about what they do in other countries where there's a levy, a tax on the streaming services that then goes towards the country's film industry. So any tax, any money would go into a pot, and then that pot makes culturally appropriate programming for that nation, which I think it seems fair. I think it's quite a nice little thing to do. And so I'm going to read you two parts of it. So the first part will be the first page of the Culture, Media and Sports Committee's article headlines and stuff. So like the first page on their website, which I'll put a link into the bio. So if you want to go and read the whole report, you can do so. Pardon me. And then there was two articles that actually recorded. The first one, which was part of the Guardian's editor, media culture editor, who is Michael Savage. I read his one for the episode, and then I read the BBC's one, and there's just a little bit more in the BBC's ones by Paul Glynn, who's the culture reporter. So re-recorded the transcript or the article so that people can hear kind of what they said. So the first part, which is the UK Parliament Committee's overview, kind of like the ingredients or the beginnings of the menu for the episode, because there is the actual report. It's very long. I'm not going to read that. And I think that the two articles, which the BBC's one, which I've chosen, kind of distills it down, adds in commentary, has other elements from other sources that just give it a little context. So it turns the kind of the ingredients into a nice big meal. And so probably give the heads up that on the last one I kind of went open bracket, close bracket, speech mark, close speech marks. I might just do a voice or something, like another accent, if anything is in speech marks, just so I don't have to kind of then cut the flow. And if anyone out there that's listening sees a report, sees an article, sees something that they think would be useful for the audience, just send it to me. Just DM me at the Time Scheduler or DM me at Film Gods Podcast. And if it's worthy or relevant or ties in nicely with any of the episodes of that month, I'll read it out. And it's getting busier, and it's slightly getting harder to nail people down to a time of the day. So this type of episode, so filming news, media update, whatever the title is, by the time I actually put this out, could become regular things. And so hopefully you enjoy it. I hope everyone is having an amazing, or had an amazing April. I hope the pencils are coming in thick and fast. I hope you're getting onto sets with people that you love, on jobs that you enjoy. And I hope that whatever anxiety the industry seems to be having, because I was on set yesterday and there was still a lot of people just saying that it's been a very difficult time and a strange moment in their careers. We will get through it. I always like to be positive. You will get through this. It is just a blip. It's a way of the industry shedding its branches of those people that actually don't want to be in anymore, or came in during the boom and thought it was easy and didn't know these times happen. And there's probably smaller cyclical cycles. There's probably smaller cycles within the bigger cycles. So, every 8-9 years, there's probably some sort of economic meltdown and crisis. And within that crisis, there will always be industries that are affected. And then in the smaller cycles, there'll be just natural progressions towards clients wanting to spend money, clients not wanting to spend money, the tax year, all of those things. So there's always ups and downs. For those that came into the UK commercials industry and kind of back into 2020 and through 21, there was no downside. There was no downtime. There was no pause. There was just go, shoot, create, make, create. And so I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Creative Caves, big up them. Sydney certified, go check out the app. And I don't know why, but Jim Dowdle's app, which I think is app 100, is now reaching 3,000 downloads, which is our highest downloads for an episode yet. It's a banger. He's amazing. But it is lovely to see that even episodes from back in the day, from the 9 to the 2020s, are still getting listened to. So thank you for coming. Thank you for giving me your time and your attention. I love you all. And let's get to the app.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Film Gods. So we're going to do another episode, as I said in the intro, where we are speaking and reading about something that is happening right now. It is April, the day of recording. We are in April when I record this. And it's about an article that has come out on the 10th of April, 2025, from the Culture, Media and Sports Committee of the UK Parliament. Just a heads up. On the last one, I kind of said, open speech marks and did it. I'm just going to do a posh voice or do some sort of voice. So when you hear a hello or something like that, that is the quotations. So 10th of April 2025, the title is Urgent Action Needed to Protect Distinctly British Content as MPs Call on Government to Ramp Up Support Across Film and TV Industry. Committee makes recommendations on tax incentives, supporting workforce, independent cinemas, and meeting talent challenges posed by AI. Subtitle. Okay, so tax breaks and a streamer levy should be on the table as part of an urgent package of support for the UK's crisis-hit high-quality drama sector, MPs say today, in a wide-ranging report which urges the government to step up the assistance it provides for all elements of British film and high-end television. Today's report from the Culture, Media and Sports Committee welcomes the government's stated ambition to make the UK the best place to make films and high-end television, but warns that there must be no complacency over its status as a global production hub and calls for a regular assessment of tax incentives to maintain investment from overseas. At the same time, the report recommends a series of measures to halt the decline of domestic production of culturally distinct British film and programmes, which has failed to keep pace with the headline-grabbing growth of big box office productions financed and controlled from outside the UK. While the introduction last year of the independent film tax credit, as called for by the previous committee in the last Parliament, was a welcome first step for the film industry, the report says the government should go further, or producers will continue to struggle to develop and raise finance for films, and those that are made will not be seen by audiences. The committee calls for a tax credit to support the distribution of lower budget films, among other measures to support independent film. The committee further warns that without urgent intervention, the problems seen in independent film will extend to the domestic high-end TV sector, where competition from high-budget overseas production is driving up costs. Revenue models are changing due to the terms offered by streamers, and commissioning budgets of public service broadcasters are being squeezed by a fall in the licence fee and drop in advertising revenue. The report outlines evidence that this has put distinctly British content, which is vital to the UK's identity, national conversations and talent pipeline, under threat. Evidence to the inquiry from Wolfhall director Peter Kaminsky warned that recent hit The Mirror and The Light would not have been made today due to funding challenges, while Black Doves and Chaos producer Jane Featherstone told the committee that the business model of streamers dictate that shows need to have global appeal to be made. The committee's report therefore calls for enhanced tax incentives for domestic high-end TV and for streamers such as Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV and also Apple TV Plus and Disney Plus, which benefit from the creativity of British producers to put their money where their mouth is by committing to pay 5% of their UK subscriber revenue into a cultural fund to help finance drama with a specific interest to British audiences. The report also makes a range of recommendations on how to bolster skills and worker rights in the industry, citing the many hard-working and talented people who work in the sector as a key reason for its success. Congratulations, everyone. That is you. It reinforces the recommendation of the last committee for the government to appoint a freelancers commission. On support for cinemas, the committee says the government should introduce a core funding model for culturally significant independent cinemas to mitigate the cost pressures, changing audience behaviours and underinvestment in people and infrastructure that have threatened many communities' cinemas. The report also says that the government should require licensing of creative work in all cases where they are used to train AI models. Subtitle, Chair comment. Dame Caroline Dinenage, MP, chair of the CMS committee, said, "Big box office blockbusters made in Britain have showcased the UK's world-class film and high-end television industry like never before. But the boom in inward investment of recent years now risks crowding out our many talented independent British producers. While streamers like Netflix and Amazon have proved a valuable addition for the industry and economy, unless the government urgently intervenes to rebalance the playing field for every adolescence adding to the national conversation, there will be countless distinctly British stories that never make it to our screens." Just off topic, what do you think of the accent? Yeah, just give it a rating and a review in the comments. From independent production through to cinemas, all parts of our film and high-end TV sector and the talented people that make it such a success are going through a turbulent time. To neglect just one part puts the entire ecosystem at risk. So it's therefore vital that the government goes further and faster across the board to support an industry that is so important to both our economy and our soft powers overseas. Today's report sets out a way forward for the government to put the name of the UK film and television industry up in lights around the world as the very best place to do business and to work, by offering the right tax incentives, tackling skill shortages, improving workers' rights, and making sure the rise of AI is a positive force, not a disincentive to investment. So that is the top line, first page of the article. Now what I want to do is, now we've read that and we've heard that section of the committee's report, now I want to show and just read out the BBC's article that again was on the 10th of April 2025 by Paul Glynn, who's their cultural reporter. The title of the news article, which is in the bio for anyone that wants to read it, is MP's call for streaming levy to help UK TV industry. There's a nice little picture of a TV there with lots of the apps and a rather large thumb pressing a TV remote from Getty Images. Okay, so in bold at the top of the article, it says, A share of the revenue streaming services make from subscription fees should be paid into a fund to support British high-end TV production, an influential group of MPs has said. Right, now we get into the article. In a new report, the Culture, Media and Sport (CMS) committee urged the government to improve support measures for producers while safeguarding the creation of distinctly British content. It follows an inquiry into the UK TV and film industry, which examined the effects of the rise of streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon and Apple TV. The report noted that vital dramas such as Adolescence are to the country's identity, national conversations and talent pipeline, which they say is now under threat. It is time for streamers to put their money where their mouth is, the report read, suggesting that streaming companies should pay 5% of their UK subscriber revenue into a cultural fund to help finance drama with a specific interest to British audiences. Chair of the CMS committee, MP Dame Caroline Dinenage, noted how recent big box office blockbusters made in Britain have showcased the UK's world-class film and high-end television industry like never before. But the boom in inward investment of recent years now risks crowding out our many talented independent British producers, she said. She added, while streamers like Netflix and Amazon have provided a valuable addition to the industry and economy, unless the government urgently intervenes to rebalance the playing field, for every adolescence adding to the national conversation, there will be countless distinctly British stories that never made it to our screens. Adolescence, created by Jack Thorne and Stephen Graham, tells the story of a 13-year-old boy who is charged with killing a female classmate. This week, it became fourth most popular English language series in Netflix's history with 114 million views. Just off topic, if you have watched it and you want to listen, there's a few episodes back where we speak to the camera team, drone op, and one of the camera operators that did episode 2, which is the school episode. There's some beautiful, lovely moments in it, and a few little Easter eggs that they wax lyrical on. But so I'll repeat that last sentence just so I know and I'm in my flow. This week Adolescence this week became the fourth most popular English language series in Netflix's history with 114 million views. A Netflix spokeswoman said, "The UK is Netflix's biggest production hub outside of North America, and we want it to stay that way. But in an increasingly competitive global market, it's key to create a business environment that incentivizes rather than penalizes investment, risk-taking, and success. Levies diminish competitiveness and penalize audiences who ultimately bear the increased costs." Not sure why she was from the south of America, but there you go. This is the voice that came to me. The Association for Commercial Broadcasters and On-Demand Services, COBA, or COBA, said a levy risks damaging streamers' investment in the UK. COBA Executive Director Adam Minns said, especially in this economic climate, a levy risks impacting existing content budgets for UK shows, jobs and growth, along with rising costs for businesses. Okay, it's kind of doing a bit of a Hagrid here. Ironically, it could actually damage public service broadcasters' dramas by reducing co-production budgets of streamers. The added pressure on domestic production stemmed from the real terms decline in the TV licence fee. A BBC spokesman said the corporation continues to invest in British content but face significant financial challenges due to pressure on the licence fee and rising industry costs. It is therefore integral that the BBC and the wider UK creative industries have the support in place to drive growth in the creative economy and support homegrown content and storytelling. For all of you watching on the YouTube, yes, there are faces that happen as the voices come out, but that's a side note. So the report released on Thursday noted how last year there was a 27%. It was a little bit Australian there, mate, but there was no speech max. 27% decrease in the number of domestic high-end TV productions made in the UK and a 25% fall in spend. The calls for greater help come after Wolf Hall director Peter Kaminsky told BBC News last month that the industry was in crisis and that public service broadcasters, including the BBC and ITV, could no longer afford to make high-end British drama. Subtitle: Fair levy or unfair tariff. The arrival of streamers into the UK market drove up the price of everything, Kaminsky told BBC Radio 4 Today programme on Thursday, to point where the public service broadcasters couldn't afford to make their programmes anymore, so we need a new pot of money. He underlined how 17 other countries in Europe had imposed a similar levy so that public service broadcasters can stay in the game. Speaking on the same programme, former BBC One controller Peter Fincham replied, saying he did not agree. I think this sounds to me a little bit like a tariff, to use a more fashionable word, and indeed a form of protectionism. A spokeswoman for the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, DCMS, said, we acknowledge the challenges facing our brilliant film and TV industry and are working with it through our industrial strategy to consider what more needs to be done to unlock growth and develop the skills pipeline. We thank the committee for its report, which we will respond to in due course. Sounds like a classic, off topic, sounds like a classic political line there, which we will respond to in due course, which basically means we'll leave it on the back burner until someone kicks off again. That wasn't in the article, that's just an opinion. Okay, so subtitle: Support freelancers. The report also noted while the introduction of tax breaks for independent British films and for film and TV studios in England may have helped, it was not a silver bullet for solving many of the issues facing British producers. As well as providing a greater support and resources for UK TV production workforces, it also suggested that lawmakers should consider cutting VAT on cinema tickets as well as doing more to meet the challenges posed by AI. Off topic, dun dun dun, AI is going to come and take over our jobs. He says with a slight twang of honesty and fear, but last week's episode, which was speaking to Joris and Mr. Simon Paul, DOP, who I feel like they're at the forefront of that whole AI, what's happening, who owns it, because a couple of their jobs that they did for a chicken shop brand called KFC, which we all know of, Mr. Kentucky Fried Chicken, had an AI creator / director say that they created a KFC commercial completely in AI, and then through some scrutiny through the internet, as the internet does, it may be or may seem like actually some of the shots were just straight up copied from other commercials. Not here to talk about that. Go back and listen to last week's ep. And so back to the report, back to the article. So commenting on the report, Paul W. Fleming, General Secretary of Equity, I mean, say that fast 5 times. General Secretary of Equity, General Secretary of Equity, which represents British performers, said the government should heed the call for the licensing of creative works in all cases where they are used to train artificial intelligence models. AI is being built illegally by stealing equity members' life's work, he said. Big tech firms must be held to account, he added. Brought to the table and made to pay creators what they owe. The cross-party committee recommended the government and British Film Institute, BFI, should launch a national awareness campaign highlighting the employment opportunities offered by film and TV and film and high-end TV and the range of skills the industry requires. It stressed how the industry benefits hugely from the flexibility afforded by a predominantly freelance workforce, and therefore more should be done to support freelancers when they are out of work, such as the introduction of a minimum hourly wage or guaranteed basic income. Which, off topic, and speaking freely, I love the idea of it. Unsure of how it would work, especially in the commercials world, where you never know when your next job's going to come, and you may have nothing 1 week and then something the next week and then nothing for 2 weeks and then an away job for a month or 4 weeks, 3 weeks. So I'd like to be in the room where it happens, the room where it happens, the room where it happens. You're really kind of seeing my brain work on this one, aren't you? Just breaking out into song. Breaking out into song at any opportunity. So it'd be interesting to hear the conversations that are being had. And there's certain people that I would want to have in that room. People like the Sean Cotterers and the Jem Mortons and just all of these very skilled, very intelligent, super reliable people and experience of film sets to put the voice forward for the film crew. I mean, there's so many people that I could have mentioned. Those two that popped into my head because Sean Cotter is a very good friend, so I know him very well, and also an ep from back in the day. And Jem has done lots for the Grip branch and has a power and authority behind his actions and making things tick, move forward, and work for everyone. So yeah, okay. So back to the article, and I'll finish off the last sentence so we just get the swing of it again. Support freelancers. I think that was a posh voice, didn't I? Support freelancers when they are out of work, such as the introduction of a minimum hourly wage or guaranteed basic income. Head of Industry Union Bectu, Philippa Childs, which actually I just want to say to anyone listening, if you are one of the people whose voices I've done, I don't know how any of these people sound. I'm just letting you know that if I see BBC, I'm going into my BBC voice and very posh when I'm speaking about the BBC. And then unions to me are just, you're down to earth, salt of the earth people, and they're from, Midlands and Yorkshire and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know where it's coming from, and I hope to God I'm not causing any embarrassment to myself, but actually just causing any offence to anyone. They're just voices that are coming out, and I don't know why, but please, if I have offended you in any way, shape or form with my very bad accent, please forgive me. Okay? So, Head of Industry Union Bectu, Philippa Childs, said, "We welcome this timely and incisive report from the committee, which identifies many of the urgent challenges currently facing the industry and its workforce." She added, "It's essential that the industry does not become too skewed towards large streamers, which risks the homogenization of content and the loss of much of the UK's unique and distinctive output. And that, my friends, is the end of the article. And to summarize and to sum it up, for what my opinion is worth, we're in a time now where the industry is in flux. It has become a global industry, and I guess there's going to be people listening across the world that have their own film industry in the country that they're in. And, you know, if you're listening in France, you've got a few people there that speak French that you can make films for. And if you're listening in India, you've got some people that, again, will listen to your films that are made in that language. Japan, Germany, that you understand what I'm saying. I think the British film industry has a unique opportunity, but also challenges that they face with having, what do you want to call it, the big brother across the pond, the friend of the special relationship, I think Tony Blair once called it. But with the American market speaking English, I mean, it's American, but for want of a better phrase, it is the King's English. And with the internal market that is culturally specific to them and has lots and lots of people that will go to the cinema, making something that is uniquely British does have, and probably now more so than ever, difficulties in raising the finance. And a levy or a tax like this is that the committee are suggesting, I think we need to be, do I dare say careful? Mindful, careful. I think there is an opportunity to get it right and a possibility of getting it massively wrong. And if the American market does stop coming and filming here, that would cause a big I was going to say issue, but it would force us into having to become sustainable. And I don't know whether we've passed the tipping point of being able to support ourselves. Because look, I've got to be honest, the amount of times that I watch terrestrial television are few and far between. And there are some amazing BBC shows and ITV shows and Channel 4 commissions that I haven't got around to watching because I probably do watch predominantly Netflix, predominantly Disney, predominantly American-based dramas without even thinking about it. You know, HBO was born in 84. HBO with Sopranos and The Wire, insert all the rest of them, they changed television. And whilst they were making those shows, we had, gritty BBC dramas that just couldn't compete. And now that we're so used to high-end television, when did the phrase high-end television even, I'm going to Google it whilst we're on here, When did INTV become a phrase? AI is searching. Gained widespread use in the UK following the introduction of a tax break in 2012. I mean, it's not even 15 years old as a phrase. And so it kind of, if I use a food analogy, like growing my grandparents that came from Spain, and you eat comida del pobre, just it's like poor person food, but it's food that is wholesome. It's lentejas. It's lentils with just potatoes and a bit of tomato, some water, and an onion. And people would eat that. And paella, very simple. Rice, simple, culturally specific dishes. But as soon as you start adding in the Mackie D's and the all the other kind of food, your palate changes. And I think our palate for TV has changed. And sometimes watching those shows that are made on a budget, you can see. And I think what I'm going to take away from this is that a great script, shot well, acted beautifully, doesn't need to have all the bells and whistles. It can just be really nice, really simple, and not cost the earth. And we need to make sure that we're using our eyeballs as an opportunity to show the TV industry that, yeah, do you know what? Not everything needs to be Hollywood. Not everything needs to be glossy and glitz and glamour. So I'm going to take that on myself. I'm going to start watching the UK dramas and the UK films more. And on that note, Sasha Nathwani, Last Swim, a friend of mine, British film making at its best, absolutely gorgeous film. Please go and watch it. And so to finish off, I may seem, my energy, I kind of know in my voice and my body that my energy seems deflated, but I'm not. I think I'm just being contemplative and calm about the situation that we face here in Britain, that some of you in other countries may be facing as well. And I just say, keep the faith, keep hope. We've got to just support our producers that are going around finding finances to make these beautiful shows work, and support our script writers that are making culturally specific pieces of work for your home nations, and actors and directors and just all the crews around the world who may or may not be going through a great time. Keep the faith. The world needs what we do. The world needs human souls connecting on screen and sharing and showing emotions. Because that might be the reason that we're all here on this earth, getting all spiritual for a minute. But what about if that is the point of life, is to feel emotions and to experience things and to experience these feelings flowing through our body? What if that is the point? And maybe that is why film has done so well, and music that touches the soul does so well. A good film, a great film, a good film can touch souls. A great film can change lives and change the course of human history. by highlighting a topic, highlighting an issue, highlighting the life of someone who you didn't even know existed and showed you an experience that you've never had. And sometimes you're watching and you go, Jesus, I never want to go through what that person went through. But there was a phrase, and I'll end it now. There was a phrase that I was speaking that I heard someone say to me on set yesterday, which their uncle told them. And it's that sometimes when you feel like you're being buried, you're actually just being planted to regrow. Oh, drop mic and credits. Roll the credits. Well, look, thank you. If you're still here and you still listen to me speak, I love you. I appreciate you. If anything resonated, let me know. Some of you do, not all of you do, but that doesn't matter. The handful of people that have reached out to me in the last few weeks means the world. It really, really does. And so I thank you. Have an amazing rest of the day. And until we meet again, that is a wrap.
So that was a chat with the king or queen in the game. I'll give it a shout at the end so you all know the name. It's the Film Gods Podcast. The what? The Film God Podcast.